Oh, there we go.
Yeah, for some reason this microphone is not doing its thing.
I thought I was going to have to read your lips. I thought, oh no, this is going to be tricky. Right, hello both, Christopher and Laura. Nice to meet you.
Hello.
How are we?
Good, very good. Good, yeah.
Super duper. So Christopher, I believe you're the producer and you're involved in the film as well.
Who, me?
Yeah,
A writer and cinematographer.
right, and cinematographer.
Yeah. Well,
Laura,
co-writer.
Laura, what did you do on this film? I'm only
So
kidding.
co-writer, director, me and Chris produced
Wow,
it all together as well.
I know, magnificent. Right, and you've got another film as well, and you've got the anthology.
I've got the Mam anthology as well.
Yeah, which will
That's a bit
be
of a beast.
right. So yeah, I've watched this film, and obviously, I'm sure it's not the first time you've heard it, but as a man, I have to tread carefully because there's some short films you watch that, well, I won't say like light-hearted, or there's animations and documentaries, and there's all different, and then there's ones like this where it's like very sort of because before I watched the film, I saw your reaction on Instagram about 2 or 3 weeks ago. You had a screening and you posted a video reaction, and that
Yeah.
I knew I understood what you were saying at the time, but having watched it after that, I was like, yeah, that it's going to be interesting to see the audience reactions to this. Um,
Yeah, I would definitely. It's not an enjoyable film.
no, it's not, and it is a thing that all those conversations we've been having for a long time now. But they're still really refreshing. I'm not going to give you my review of the film, but I enjoyed the dynamics of those conversations where I felt ashamed to be a man for a little bit, but then I thought, well, that's a good point. I think one of the guys says, um, you wouldn't cross the street if you saw a bad woman approaching.
Yeah.
And although it's a funny line, it's just like it makes you realize, well, yeah, it is actually like that for
Yeah.
both parties.
Yeah, and I think it's important as well to understand that we're not trying to just attack men with the film. We're not trying to go, well, men are crap. It's
Uh,
like it's just having a bit of consideration at the end of the day, isn't it?
yeah. And I think arguably, and I'll come on to the film, the dynamics, you did the men first, and then some of them made themselves look a little bit ridiculous, but then I think the women did as well to some extent. Some of
Mhm.
the women got each other's backs up a bit until some of their stuff was revealed. So
Yeah.
yeah, um, yeah, not
Having
enjoy.
said, so
Sorry, go
having
on.
said that the men made themselves look a bit ridiculous, the story for the men part of it was based on real conversations I've had with other men and things
Yeah,
they've actually said. So they do make themselves look a bit ridiculous in person as well.
yeah, yeah.
So,
Well, I think we've all been part of those type of conversations, or we've all been asked for our views on that or things less serious, but in the same realm, haven't we? And where do you stand? But yeah, there's a lot of different things in there. I'm going to start with a film then. I mean, this question is for either and both of you, but like, is the particular films or stories that this was inspired by any particular filmmakers you wanted to emulate with this type of like filmic style?
hmm. I think we talked about that quite a lot, and we did want to because it comes in three parts. We did want to make them very wildly different from each other, and so yeah, actually, we just had decided early on that we wanted the men's section to look more like a Western because it was very much like a standoff. So everything was going to be very static, very still, not lots of movement, just like that in classic westerns where there's like one person there, this is a long shot. And
Yeah.
we wanted that sort of feel to it. And then in contrast to that, we wanted the women's to have a lot of movement in it and be very much in the round. So it's like, like how women get together and like it's always in toilets and things like that. Women always end up together or in a kitchen and chatting, and it was just about having a much more cohesive experience. I think at one point we sort of touched upon like a witch's cauldron, which I realize is a problematic,
Oh,
probably
careful.
trope, but but it was very much meant to be much more cohesive and much more less argumentative and less standoffish, I think. So we definitely did lean into that.
Yeah, I got that with the distance. I've just realised how far apart the men were. It almost was like it was almost like they were social distancing from each other. Their opinions. Yeah, and then the woman's was a lot more intimate on the bed,
Yeah.
sort of leaning into each other. Yeah, that's a really interesting dynamic.
Mm.
Um, and writing it as well. Then like, you both wrote this, didn't you? What was the? I suppose what did you both give? I think Christopher's already hinted on that some of real conversations, but what did you both give to the script, and how do you two work together? I'm sure you must have had some disagreements and some like, oh, I was thinking the same thing.
We didn't really have disagreements.
Oh,
The
excellent.
the first one second, sorry. The first not all men part, the part where the men were talking, I wrote that based on a conversation that I remember my wife. I was talking to her one night, and I said I wanted to write something that could be shot in a single room, and she had said something, I can't remember what it was now, and it reminded me of this conversation I'd had with a guy across the table at a party, and a lot of the stuff that was in the script is stuff that he had said back to me. So I wrote that. I made Laura come round to my house, read it, and then she said, "Can I direct? Can I direct?" And then
Oh,
from
well.
there went on and did the women's perspective, and then the event at the end. So um, yeah, so the original script was based on a real life conversations that I've had, and then Laura added the rest.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I think it was just that it just seemed, I remember he was like, I'm not sending it to you. You have to come to my house to read it. And I was like, okay. And it was because he wanted to see my reaction to it. And I was like, oh, okay, right, we're doing this then, are we? And I think I just sort of felt like it was such a good premise on its own. But if we added other, I did feel like I was worried that it might come across as an attack on men. Where actually the conversation's much, much bigger than that. So we did add the women's perspective and the idiosyncrasies between the conversations when women have those conversations, because I think there's a mistake that people make in that they assume all women are like just on the same side when it comes to things like this. And but there's nuances in everything and there's context in everything, and I think we wanted to show that side of it as well so that it looked like we wanted to touch on all of the conversations that happen around sexual abuse, around rape, around allegations of attacks and things. Um, but ultimately, the point we wanted to make, and I think the point that we've succeeded in making with this film, is that this stuff happens and those conversations ultimately don't matter. You can say, well, she was wearing this dress and she had this makeup on, and you can say, well, she didn't really say no, or well, they were flirting. Actually, it doesn't matter. Those conversations are a moot point when it actually happens. Um, and I think we wanted to definitely make that point with a bang, and I feel like we did. But also the fact that these conversations are usual, they do happen, and we just wanted to, and I think Chris sort of dealt with this really well with the first part of it. We just kind of wanted to hold a mirror up to people who are having these conversations, not in a way to go, you're in the wrong, but more like, do you recognize this conversation? Have you been in this situation? Do you maybe understand why it might be problematic? So that people can have a think about it really and look at themselves and who they would be within those conversations.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. But what you said about nuances is really, I mean, for both men and women, really, that you have to sort of turn a mirror on yourself as well a little bit. And this is my view. And the men are, I mean, the men and the women, I wouldn't say they fell out, but there was friction in those friendships, and just by the one sentence that they might utter. Or did you create like backstories for these characters then? Because a lot of them, their opinions will be based on you created these characters really well. I think they're all very different. That's what I liked about it. But the backstories were only hinted on, especially with the women. There was literal backstory there. But did you create backstories and so you'd know what type of opinions these people would have?
Well, for the men's side, the character of Tom is based on me. I had his side of the conversation, and the Gavin character was the other guy that I was talking to at this party. So a lot of what has been said back and forth between the two of us was almost verbatim what was said at this party. So and then there was supporting characters added as well to sort of flesh out the conversations a bit more. So for the Tom and Gavin characters, there's definite backstories because it's based on real life conversations. Um,
Yeah, in terms of the women's characters, well, unfortunately, they're all of the stories that are talked about are based on real stories of my friends and colleagues, and they're all real. So they're sort of amalgamations of people that we know, and stories that we know of, because we wanted to give it that realism and not just have it look like, well, on paper, let's see what it looks like. It had to be truthful, it had to feel real, or I think it just wasn't going to work.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it's interesting that you've got people that we talk about this and we tweet about these opinions and we scream about them, but when it's intimate friendships, how strange, how different it is. And I think you captured it in both sets. I really liked it. I like that you had an opening where it's all down like college party feel. Then you cut to these four men, and you know something's happened straight away, don't you?
Yeah.
And then the women, and then obviously the final scene, which I think if you're watching this film from an audience perspective, it is kind of a guessing game as well. Like maybe he didn't do it. That would be a lovely ending. Sadly, that's not reality. I suppose
Yeah.
the big question now is like directing wise, just those two scenes with the dialogue and then the last scene must have been very different directorial styles. Could you talk me through that a little bit? How was obviously the last one is a lot different, but
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. I think all three of them were involved very different sort of methods. And I think not so much different directorial styles. My style is always just to really try and work really closely with the actors and try and get them to sort of understand the point of where we're coming from and hope that they'll then be able to just take that. I focus mostly my time on the actors. And working so closely with Chris is really useful because he kind of understands how my brain works and I understand how his works. So we kind of feed off each other and go, wouldn't this be a really good idea? And we do like to plan, but also on the day, I love it when you get nice surprises on the day as well. But with the men, it was very much, as I say, just with a view to sort of making it seem like it could be anybody's house party, that conversations that everybody has, and making it not seem confrontational in a way, but not so aggressive that I think a lot of people could have leaned into with this story. We didn't want it to be like, oh, lads, 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 you know. And I think we did that because the actors are a bit more grown up. They're a bit older than I think well, I wanted them to be a little bit older. I didn't want like teenage lads having this
no, the young
conversation.
adult, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And with the women as well, it was very much we wanted it intimate. We wanted them to have obviously a really close friendship, but also I feel like each character had a very defined personality for that one, which, and they were wildly different as well, which I thought was really lovely. Um, we we went back and forward on the final part because we needed to have a really long conversation about do we even put it in because there is the oh well, wouldn't it, what if she did something? What if
Yeah.
she's lying? And narratively, that might have made a really lovely film in terms of having a conversation and the topics and highlighting how women aren't all brilliant as well. But that really wasn't the point we wanted to make because of the statistics and because that conversation in itself is problematic. Well, women make stuff up. Yeah, but the percentage of women who make stuff up is minuscule
Yeah,
compared to the actual reality of it. And ultimately we landed on including it because it's so visceral and because it's just so upsetting. And it's like, yeah, well, yeah, that's the point. It happens, and you have to watch it now for like 6 minutes, and it's grim and it's awful. And we kept a really small crew for it. So small, in fact, it was literally Chris and his wife. Um, Obviously, I play a Kate in it.
yeah,
I didn't feel comfortable asking anybody else to really do that. And Josh, the guy who plays Alex, I've worked with him a lot. He's become a really close friend. We just talked to each other for months beforehand about how we were going to do it. Obviously, there's the whole conversation around consent and what's okay and what's not okay. But ultimately, we decided that couldn't half-arse it. It needed to look real. It needed to be believable, or it just wasn't going to sell the whole point. So there's a lot of pressure on that last one, and it was a difficult day. I won't lie, it was a long and difficult day,
yeah,
but we got it shot in one day, and I'm really can I say pleased with the outcome? It achieved what I wanted it to, and I think,
Artistically, you can say that, can't you? Of course,
yeah.
you know.
And n not only that, but in terms of like my activism and stuff, like I'm a human rights and women's rights activist, and I think ultimately that really it sells it, and I feel like it does the job of starting those conversations, and it's not an enjoyable watch, and it does need trigger warnings, and
Yeah,
uh, but having said that, it looks beautiful. I absolutely love the cinematography that Chris managed to get on it. I love the colouring of every single scene is a completely different colour and it's gorgeous. So yeah, it's odd for me. Like I'm not even desensitized to it yet. That's the thing. I was in it, I edited it, and I watch it
yeah,
all the time, but I'm still like, oh, not quite comfortable with
yeah,
it.
yeah. Anything like that in film, especially the when you think maybe he just leaves now, but he closes the door, and you're
Yeah.
just like, oh no.
Yeah.
And that's when you, in my opinion, then became an even bolder filmmaker because I knew you were going to go the whole way. Um, yeah, really great final scene. To be fair, I suppose Chris, like yeah, cinematography. There was one particular bit where, which I know is not pleasant, but when she goes onto the bed
Yeah,
and the camera just literally leans like that, and you know, it took me out of the story only for just to be in admiration of the artistry of it, you know, because you just kept it going because obviously you probably wanted to be a little bit more kinetic with that final scene with the camera and the movement of the actors. So how did you shoot that final scene in that respect? I mean, it wasn't showy,
just
but it
went
was
like that
very,
with the camera.
but it was so perfectly done. I mean, because obviously the other two scenes are static, aren't they? So you didn't, but with this one, it's like there's movement, there's back and forth, there's,
Yeah,
how did you incorporate that into your camera work?
I don't know. I just did it on the
It
day.
just happened.
Timing is something I'm really good with. So we practiced it a couple of times. I think we shot it 2 or 3 times before we got the right timing.
Mhm.
But yeah, it was just we'd planned to do that sort of shot many days before we shot the actual scene. And then the rest of the rest of the shots and the angles were worked out on the day as we were there based on what was going on.
Mhm.
Yeah.
'Cause it's not something you can really rehearse beforehand.
No,
Um,
no,
I
um,
think as well because myself and Josh didn't really want to do it that many times.
no.
So we had choreographed exactly what was going to happen. And then we were like, okay, right, let's just do it then. So I think we got like a few t and then we got like the cutaway bits and stuff, which it was all very grim, but yeah, that shot, that's my favorite shot in the whole film. And I remember talking about it days before going, right, we need to do this and this. And we were like, yeah, I love it. And it does, I did worry, it's so beautiful. I did worry that it would make people come out and be like, oh, I'm watching a film. But I guess, do you know what, that was probably quite refreshing anyway, because I think it's maybe needed at that point.
I think what's so great about it is that it does take you out, but it's such a moment that you don't come out of what you're actually already in. It doesn't do that. It doesn't think, "Well, look at this bravado cinematography," and oh, I've missed the scene. It's so fitting that you chose that moment because at that moment when you're on the bed, there's no going back, point of no
Yeah.
return.
you've gone
Awful,
down with her sort of thing. It's
yeah, and it was awful. And how do you cut at that point? The cut might have been more distracting. It was a brilliant choice, and it was brilliantly executed. And I'm sure you're going to tell me it was the first take as well. But
Actually, we did end up using the first take. We did do
wow,
it a couple more times, but before that we had rehearsed it as well. We were like, right,
yeah,
okay, couple of times, and then it was like, right, let's just do it.
yeah. I mean, really, really, really powerful film. You know, I'm really looking forward to seeing audience reactions to it, as I'm sure that's
Mm.
been a part of your process. How have they reacted so far from what you've seen? Then, I mean, generally speaking, not just positive or negative, but have you seen those kind of dynamics on people's faces?
Yes. So we did a cast and crew screening recently, and we invited people along, some friends, as well of the cast and crew. We were screening two films that I directed that night, both with similar themes. I mean, the first one was a lot more cheerful. And after the first one, everyone was like cheering, and when the names were going up on the screen, they were like, "Yay!" for the actors and the crew, and it was lovely. And then we watched Not All Men, and you could have heard a pin drop. And it was, I sat at the back because I wanted to see what was going on in the room. And there was a lot of like shoulders up. There was a lot of like, oh, and I was like, oh no, people hate it. Oh God. I was like really worried. Um, and then, as I say, when the film finished and the credits started to roll, nobody spoke, nobody moved. It was just deadly still. And me and Chris were like, oh, we're gonna have to get up and say something here. So we got up and spoke to the audience and had a little chat, and then we're like, right, let's go get a drink. And and that's when people were just really, the reviews that we got and the feedback we got were incredible and exactly what we wanted. And it makes us sound like awful people because people were genuinely upset by it. Um, and and that's what we want from it. Like that's the goal, not to make people go home in floods of tears, but to make them go, "Oh my God, yeah, this does happen. This is awful." And and I think the best moment of the night for me was I was walking, I think I was walking back from the toilet or something, and I looked and there was just a group of lads all having this conversation about consent and things like that. I was like, that's it. That's why we've
Oh,
made it. This is perfect.
yeah,
So it won't be for everybody, and I do sort of ask that whoever shows it does give some sort of trigger warning because we did have people, especially we did have women at the event who were visibly shaken by it, and it wasn't very nice. Although they loved the film, it was like, yeah, that's what it's like. And that just
yeah,
like it hurts your soul when you hear that and you're like, yeah, I know. Okay. So hopefully we're hoping it's not just grim for grim's sake. We hope it's for a reason and that people will take it as it's intended.
yeah. It provokes thought, doesn't it? And
Mhm.
makes you look at yourself and think, which of those guys am I? Or that. And I think that's interesting. Cinema's not just to escape, is it? It's a way to think differently or get a different perspective on things. And your
Yeah,
film certainly does that.
thank you. I definitely want to go down the Ken Loach School of Directing and just make
Well,
points for my entire career.
super. So you two, just a trigger warning thing. I was going to ask that, but we'll speak to the team about that as well before we screen it. But I assume you two are going to work together again.
We have many
Yeah.
times. I think we've got like 4 films on the roster at the moment. I'm editing, color grading one at the moment from last Thursday.
Superb,
Yeah.
superb. I suppose my final question is for both of you, really. I suppose for Christopher, like, what advice would you give anybody that wants to get into writing or cinematography? And I suppose for Laura, a bit more of a feminist question, but what advice would you give a young college filmmaker that wants to make films like yours? I'll start with you, Chris, if you don't mind.
Um, Pick up a camera and experiment. Just do it. I didn't start writing until about 2 years ago because I didn't pick up a laptop. I was going to say a pen. Didn't pick up a laptop and start writing, but as soon as I started writing, I've been doing it ever since. So just pick up a camera and if everyone's got a phone, pick up a phone,
Yeah,
go out there, experiment, try and emulate stuff that you've seen on that you like, and go from there.
superb.
Yeah.
Laura, what about
I
you?
guess in terms of people sort of who are interested in getting into directing, and certainly somebody who wants to make a film like this, um, I'm of a similar mindset to Chris. I come from a background of I'm like a working class lass from the northeast of England. Making films wasn't for me. It was for rich people from America or London. So I'm a latecomer to it, and my advice is honestly just do it. I keep seeing this little meme everywhere that is just make it. You can make it better later.
Yeah,
Find your style, find the things that are important to you. I, I really love to make things that are important to me, that mean something to me. But you don't have to do that. You can make something that's beautiful, or you can make something that's thought-provoking. But if it's something you want to do, just do it and find people who, for me, the reason I've been able to do it is because I've found people who are on my team and people who want to see me succeed, and we just very collaborative with like local film clubs are a really great place to start because
yeah,
everybody's there for the same reason
yeah.
and you can have fun with it and experiment and there's no judgment. Just have a bunch of people who support you and your crazy dreams to become a filmmaker because that's what's going to get you through the more difficult days and days where you think, I don't know if I can do this. The reality is you can. You've just got to find your own style.
Screening details will come out. We'll be in touch. We've got the coordinators who have been just a lifesaver for me running a massive festival like this.
So are
You
you
know,
running this festival? Is this like your
this is
festival?
my festival, yeah,
It's
but
insane. It's so huge. How
oh,
are
I
you
don't know
doing this?
why. Honestly, I don't know why I do it every year. We started 10 years ago with 10 feature films made by women, and just did some watch-alongs. And the next year, I was like, let's do some short films. Nobody watches those. And then 10 years later, I'm like, oh, I'm still doing this then.
I
But
love
this
that.
is
I'm
the
glad
biggest
you
one by
are.
far. We'll have a review for each site, but I promise we will let you know the details as soon as we know, and then you can share. And
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And thank you for screening it. I know it's like I probably Marmite for a lot of film festivals.
this is going to be one of the interesting ones, isn't it? Because there's some films in there that are like 3 minutes long, and people are just going to be animation or laughing for 3 minutes, whereas this one's going to be 27 minutes of silence and thought, and
Yeah.
potentially, if you want to stick around for Q&A after, that could be very interesting. But yeah,
Yeah,
looking forward
I'll
to
be
it.
about. I'll be watching it. I'm really I might watch it like this and be like, oh God, I hope people like it.
But it will be interesting to see the reaction. I know for you, because it's your two's project. It's going to be a bit more tense, back row, hiding behind the sofa. But yeah, that's why we do this. Are these conversations, reactions to films.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's better than actually watching the film itself. Dare I say that? But
Yeah.
yeah, lovely. But great
Thank you
stuff.
so much. Really appreciate it. And I
No
will
problem.
hopefully speak to you again soon with like what, 8 other women now?
Yeah,
Like I
yeah,
think there's eight of them. So
and hopefully be around during the festival. You'll get to watch some of the other films out there
oh
as well.
I'll be tuned in for as long as I
There's
possibly can.
so many different films, as you will aware. But yeah, but thank you as well, Chris, for your insights and everything. That was wonderful work. Really nice talking to you both.
Thank you so much.
All right, we'll speak
Bye
again.
bye. Have a good
Bye for
night.
now. You too.